This is my studio. I've patterned after 19th century. This is the outside of it. You can see I've got my nice sign up, my lanterns for exterior lighting at nighttime. This is my Kodak Century camera. It's an 8x10 camera. I've adapted it for wet plate use by putting a wet plate back on the back of it. It was a dry plate camera at the turn of the century. The basic function and design was the same as the Civil War era cameras, which is what I usually do, is take Civil War style pictures. It has an original Dallmeyer lens on it from the 1860s, 1870s, which is for 8x10. It's on a studio stand, which is in my studio now, and that's what I get to roll it back and forth with to get the size of the photograph. I use it on a tripod when I put it outside. People ask me if I use anything modern in working with wet plate, and I don't. I use all the original style equipment and stuff. I feel that if I'm doing 19th century photography, I'm going to use exactly what they had back then. I don't take any shortcuts and use any modern equipment. It just looks the part. And when I'm out in the field doing an event, I actually dress the part of the 19th century photographer. This is my cabinet here. It's my glass bottle cabinet. It has period glass bottles in it that the photographer would use back in the 19th century to mix the chemicals up with and storage the chemicals. I look everywhere for the correct type of bottles, and some of them are original, some of them are brand new, but they look original. What we have up there on the wall is a gathering of wet plate photographers and umbrella holders. Those are our assistants. There's myself and Will Dunaway in there. And then we have a few other assistants that help us when we go to an event. And there's a couple of our pets in there. We got some pet roosters that we take pictures with. On the wall over here is a 19th century mirror. I'm sure the ladies want to use a mirror to look at themselves to make sure that they're gussied up for the event. I have my hat and my photographer's coat hanging there, and a few more lanterns around, so when it does get dark and I do some work in here, I can't take pictures by candlelight like that. It doesn't work very well. Down the wall I have some assorted flags that Civil War soldiers want to use. There's the American flag, the battle flag of Northern Virginia, and the stars and bars are on there. I have my doctor's case where I keep all my lenses in, and just a bookcase down there where I keep assorted storage and things in. I have an umbrella for shielding the lens when I'm out in the sunlight. Also, it shades me from the sun when it gets too hot and I'm not doing anything. Have a violin in there in case we get a musician that wants to pose with a prop. Have an original style chair there. It's a folding chair. I have a piano stool that rotates up and down to adjust the height for our smaller patrons. It'll just spin around and it'll go up and down. The piano stool is covered in the same material as my posing chair, so that it matches and it looks very well in the photographs, just like the originals. The posing chair is very simple. It has a curved back in it, and it's not a very comfortable chair to sit in, but for posing, it's just perfect. You sit down in it very straight, and it holds you exactly right. You know, I can adjust the back up and down to adjust for a tall person or a short person like that. And it's actually a very good chair. It's pretty sturdy. I had to build it myself because they don't make things anymore like this. On the back wall is the curtains and the backdrop. I use a teal blue backdrop because the wet plate doesn't really see the blue. So if I put somebody light colored dress against that, it'll show up and the background will disappear in the photograph. Then I have two different curtains to give it that studio effect. And they turn out dark color in the photograph. They don't, of course, this is black and white, and it's not color, so you don't see the red and you don't see the green showing up. And I have a couple head braces up there against the wall for using on the head when people can't stand still. I have quite a few people that shake like a real flag when they're in the photograph because you have to hold it for quite a while. Up on the tops is a picture of our president. In 1860s, everybody had a picture of President Lincoln, especially if you're in the northern states. And you always had bunting of some kind hanging around your studios. The Lelands Lucky Ladies Gambling Establishment, that's a sign that my son had when he was running the gambling hall for our Civil War group. Ladies had a gambling establishment, so he was in charge of it. So that was the sign, and I just thought it was appropriate, the period-looking sign, so I hung it up in here, and it's just going to stay. It's been around the family for a while. And here also this desk and the chair are originals from the Victorian era, turn of the century. I use it as my writing desk and I don't take it out in the field. It stays right here. This is a fairly new chair that I got. I found in a flea market back in New York when I was running through there. It's kind of beat up, but it's very sturdy. I'm going to use it as my second posing chair. To the doorway I built myself the window frames, I'm not quite finished with them yet, are from the 1930s. They're from an old beach house down in Pacific Beach here in California. This is my photographer's tent. This is where I would actually live in and work in when I'm out in the field. I have it set up right now with my portable darkroom inside and various tables set up around, and I got my drying racks out here and all my developing chemicals and bottles and ready to take photographs in here. This is the way they would set it up back in the 1860s out in the field. They have the wall tent made of canvas and a fly, which is also made of canvas to keep the sun out of. And it keeps you out of the weather in case it starts raining. Inside the tent is my portable darkroom. You can see the developing trays and the dip tank and some chemical bottles, which has the collodion and the developer in it. This is a pretty good copy of the way they would do it out in the field, yes. Yes, they had their dip tanks right here that would open up, and the plates would go inside this, and they would have their trays set up, and this is exactly the way they would do it back then. I used to be a Civil War reenactor, and I decided I was going to cook for the guys because they couldn't cook very well, so I became the company cook. And then when I picked up my hobby of photography from years back, I just decided to, well, I'm going to be the company photographer. Then after a while, I quit being with the Civil War group. I just opened up my own little business and kept calling it the company photographer.